As an empath, do you find yourself apologizing all the time, whether it's something you actually should be apologizing for or not? If so, that is a very common thing, unfortunately, for empaths. If you've seen some of my other work where I talk about hyperresponsibility syndrome, you know a little bit about why this is. So hyperresponsibility syndrome is basically something I kind of coined that talks about why we feel like, as empaths, we feel like we are responsible for all the pain in the entire universe and also for solving all the pain and everybody's problems and everything going on. And if I don't do it, who's going to fix it? That's hyperresponsibility syndrome. And it's super common, as I say, for empaths. There's a lot of reasons, and you can check out my other work on hyperresponsibility syndrome as to why we often end up with this. But the fact of the matter is that we do tend to apologize a zillion times a day because we do feel like we're somehow at fault for all kinds of stuff, or that we're in the wrong. So I wanted to talk quickly about what are the things that we should not be apologizing for. And one is, we should not be apologizing for being sensitive. All too often as empaths, our sensitivity was used against us as we were growing up. We were oftentimes told that, we were weak or a crybaby or a wuss or a wimp or too sensitive when we were over feeling everything that was going on. We were told that our sensitivity literally was weakness and it was wrong. And that message makes us, even as adults empaths, even as empaths that maybe you've been working on yourself for a little while and becoming more aware, you'll find yourself oftentimes apologizing for being too sensitive when you are feeling too much. And that's something that you absolutely do not have to apologize for. And I would suggest that you start bringing your attention to every time that you think you're going to start apologizing for being sensitive, and stop yourself right in that moment and instead own that. Say something like, sensitivity is my superpower. I own my sensitivity. I own being an empath. I'm proud of being sensitive. Because at the end of the day, if people aren't able to feel how other people are feeling, if we don't have empathy, our world falls apart. Empaths are the ones rushing to every difficult situation in the world and helping. So it's time to sort of honor that sensitivity and stop apologizing for it or feel like there's something wrong with you. And yes, can be overwhelming. And I know I hear from a lot of you, and I certainly felt this way myself, that it can feel like a curse because you feel too much all the time. But the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, our sensitivity is something to be proud of. We are helpers in this world, and the world needs helpers more than ever before. And the next thing that you don't need to apologize for as an empath is needing time for yourself. I think I see so many of us as empaths where we are rushing around and we are just handling all the stuff for everybody all the time, right? We don't know how to put things down. Again, that goes back to some of the hyperresponsibility syndrome and feeling that we are responsible for everything. And so when we are completely blown out, completely overstimulated, completely done for the day, and we have no more to give, and then we keep giving, we end up apologizing for needing to sort of hide ourselves away from the world or go take a walk in the park by ourselves with no one talking to us, no stimulation, no anything. We've been made to feel oftentimes, because we are told that we need to be available to everybody all the time, and we feel inside ourselves this compulsion to help other people. We've been made to feel that taking time for ourselves as empaths is something that is wrong, that, because we need time away from people to recharge, there's something wrong with us. And this goes for extrovert empaths and introvert empaths. I am an extreme extrovert empath, and I still get overstimulated and need time away from other people. And I know if you're an introvert empath, the weight of that can even be even heavier, because oftentimes you've been criticized for being shy or for being an introvert. And again, that's also not something to apologize for. That's just who you are. And that's perfectly great. The world needs introverts, and introverts have created some of the best works of art and poetry. Emily Dickinson was a very, very famous introvert, and I've always loved her poetry. So it's something to be proud of rather than feel like there's something wrong with us. So instead, reframe your need to take time for yourself as, this is time for me to recharge myself so I can be my best self, so I can help more people, so I can live a better life with more energy for myself. Because at the end of the day, if you don't take some time away from people, especially when you are particularly aware that you need that quiet time from people, when you don't do it, when you don't take that time away, you are going to burn out. And the problem with an empath that is burning out is that unlike normal compassion fatigue, when we're talking about empath fatigue, an empath will be completely burned out, but because we feel other people's needs so strongly, we will continue to keep trying to help. So even in a burned out state, the last little drips of blood from the stone, so to speak, we will just keep giving no matter what. A non-empath person will burn out and they will just become numb and stop helping. And so that's kind of the difference between the two. And so obviously, as an empath, we don't want you to get there. We don't want you to be in empathic fatigue and then continue pushing forward, because you will get sick. I have been there, done that, so you will get sick. The next thing you don't have to apologize for, but you've probably been taught that you do, is setting boundaries. So one of the things I've worked really hard on in the last couple of years for myself is learning how to set more appropriate boundaries. And I found myself quite often saying things like, I'm so sorry, but I can't. It's always was like, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't. I really apologize, but this. And I realized I was justifying that I had a boundary that I needed to set. Now, as empaths, and I talk about this in some other works, other videos and audios that I've done, we have a lot of problems setting healthy boundaries. There's a lot of reasons for that. One is oftentimes we've been brought up in families that did not allow us to have healthy boundaries, that wanted us to just be available all the time. And so healthy boundaries was just not a thing for us. And we didn't know that wasn't normal, or it was even an option for us, until maybe we were older. Maybe you're just discovering that for yourself. And also it's hard for us to have boundaries because oftentimes we're feeling other people's pain or needs so deeply that it can be really hard for us to be able to say no, to say, this is as much time as I can offer. This is as much energy as I can offer. This is as much money as I can offer, whatever it is that you're kind of doing or saying in those situations. It can be very hard because we feel that other person's need. And of course, being an empath, we want to solve the problem. And on top of it, it's not just altruistic because we do feel other people's pain. We also, by solving their pain, we feel better. So sometimes it ends up feeling like, well, it's just easier to just do it for them, or to jump in, or to help out, or just this once, I'll go do this, right? These are the excuses we make because, then that person will feel better. That of course makes us feel better, and on it goes. The problem is it's a lot like, a drug. We take it and we keep doing it and keep doing it, even if it's bad for us. And you get that hit of feeling better for a second, and then you're not feeling better at all. So one of the things I want you to pay attention to is when you are setting a boundary, and a boundary is simply, this is okay with me over here, and this is not okay with me over there. I'd like you to work on paying attention to, are you apologizing when you try to set a boundary? How often does that start to happen and come up? And then also find a way to stop sort of justifying. Are you justifying the boundary? Like, I can't do this because of, and I used to have like a whole list of like, well, I can't do this because this, I would get this whole list of things. And a lot of that comes from when you set a boundary, maybe as a child, you had to really justify or try to convince somebody that you really, truly did need a break, or you really, truly did need to stop for whatever reason. So I want you to notice how often that's showing up for you as well. Are you justifying it? Did you have to justify it as a child? When you tried to say no to somebody, was there a lot of justification, and were you maybe not listened to? And so now there's a fear of setting a boundary and having a bad response, the silent treatment or being thrown out of the group, or many of the fears that would have come up for us as children, especially depending on the kind of family that you grew up in. So I'd like you to take a look at that, but just know that you don't actually have to apologize for setting boundaries, and that it is okay for you to decide what's okay for you and what's not. And another thing that you don't have to apologize for is not being able to help. And let me tell you, this is a very, very difficult, very strong one for empaths. We are inherently wired to help. But there are situations and things going on that we legitimately cannot help with. I can't tell you the number of empaths that I have worked with that their bank account is almost zero because they've just given and given and given and given financially to so many charities. They don't have a lot of time for themselves to work on either progressing in their career or building their business or whatever it is, because they're so busy trying to help all these causes that they care about so much. And believe me, I can't tell you, I understand that so much. My inclination would be to literally give everything away. Give it to everybody. But the problem is, at the end of the day, as empaths, we also deserve to have a good life. We deserve to have money for ourselves. We deserve to have energy for ourselves. You know, energy is a commodity as well. If we give all that away and we never give any back to ourselves, then our bank account is empty as well at the end of the day. And, you know, you can't go on helping people if you don't also help yourself. And a lot of times it's good to use that analogy of, you know, if you're on a plane and you have to put the air mask on, the oxygen mask on, and they say, if you're traveling with a child, put the oxygen mask on yourself first so that you can make sure that you are safe. And then that allows you to be able to help that child. If you put it on the child and then you pass out, then you can't have help the child, right? And it's the same kind of thing. If you don't have enough oxygen, energy, and money for yourself, you will, as an empath, run dry and you won't be able to help anybody anymore. So it's okay when you realize that you cannot actually help a situation. There are times when you simply can't do any more, and it may not just be financial. There may be situations in your life where people are in very problematic situations. I've had people in my life that were in, you know, abusive situations that just made me sick to my stomach, that I could not pull that person out of that situation. There are situations where you can't help, but there's also that you've set a boundary and you simply have no more to give at that point in time. So I'd like you to work with, just like with working on the boundaries and not apologizing, I'd like you to also work on not apologizing when you really, truly cannot help a situation, or you don't have the time to help, or you don't have the money to help. And also, beyond that, in not apologizing, also work on not carrying the guilt about not being able to help. So that can be a very difficult component because we can manage to say, I can't help. But if you stay connected with it and guilty that you're not helping and worried that you're not helping and that no one in the whole world will ever help this person or this thing, then again, you're still staying connected to that draining. So one thing to work on is making a clear, conscious decision that you cannot help about a situation, and then also working on sort of disconnecting, letting that situation go and disconnecting from it. I've got a few various meditations, and also in my Empath Institute, also in the body language course, I have some disconnect meditations and other things that can be super helpful in being able to disconnect if that's something that's very difficult for you. And it is for most of us. It's still very difficult. I still have to work on it myself. And the final one is that you don't have to apologize for, is to not apologize for who you are. And this kind of goes back to that first one where you're not apologizing for being too sensitive. But in general, most of us as empaths have had a lot of things that were criticized about us that are sort of inherent to who we are. You know, whether it's your caring nature, your sensitivity, your creativity, whatever that might be, a lot of us have had many things about ourselves that have been highly criticized in many, many ways. And because of that, we oftentimes find ourselves apologizing for just things that are part of who we are as individuals. And that can carry some pretty heavy energy. It also can cause you to be very blocked in being able to create the things you truly want to create in your life. Because if at the bottom line, you feel like there's something actually wrong with you that makes you less than, then you can't expect to have more in your life, a better life, the life that maybe you dream of wanting. So this is something that I'd really suggest, if you can, please make sure to start really working on, paying attention and working on. So what I'd like you to do, a great exercise, if you're at all able to do this, is to either get like a white t-shirt, or if you don't have a white t-shirt around, that's fine. Grab a big poster board or just a piece of paper. And I'd like you to take, a Sharpie, some kind of marker like that, and start writing down all the things that people criticized you for onto that t-shirt or that paper, that poster, whatever. Write them all down. All these things that people said that you were, that you were criticized, or things that people claimed you were and that you really aren't, or the expectations of other people that maybe you're carrying right now. And take some time to do this. And it can be really difficult to do this particular practice, but it is super helpful. So just keep breathing through it. And I promise on the other end, you'll feel a lot better. So if you do it on a t-shirt, I'd like you to read through, or even the paper, poster, whatever, read through all of these things and notice the weight of how that feels, especially these statements that aren't true. As empaths, a lot of times when we try to set boundaries, we end up being called selfish, which is of course the opposite of what an empath can be. So this can be very overwhelming. That might end up on your t-shirt. So there's a lot of heavy energy that can go along with, obviously, all these expectations and everything going on. At that point, then I want you to actually put the t-shirt on and imagine that you've been carrying around all of this stuff all this time. Or, sit with the poster, sit with the piece of paper and really feel the weight of what this feels like for you. And then realize that you can make the decision right here, right now, to take off these expectations of other people and to become to be the true you. The you that deserves to have a beautiful and wonderful life, the you that is authentic to you, and that you can stop apologizing or taking on all these other people's expectations of who you are. And you can say something aloud like, if you have the t-shirt on, I now take off all these expectations. I no longer wear this on myself. If you have the paper, if you have, the poster, you can rip up the paper, or rip up the poster. I suggest if you can, burn the paper, cut up, shred up the t-shirt, you can do that. It's really about doing something that is a physical representation of the fact that you're no longer taking on other people's expectations and thoughts about you, and that are wrong, that aren't things you want to carry anymore. And that you now get to decide who you are, what's authentic to you, and how you move forward in this world. And so the next step of this is to make sure that you sit down and you actually put down, who are you really inside yourself? Not what other people have told you that you are. What do you want in this world? Who are you? What makes you joyful? What makes you feel centered? Write all of those things down. And if you can, read those statements to yourself as I am statements. I am a kind person. I love to walk in nature. It doesn't matter, whatever it is that you're going to put down, saying these more and more to yourself, it anchors within you that who you are is pretty great. And the world needs every different kind of person. So whatever it is that you like, that you dream of, those things are all valid and good and needed. And so one of the things that you can do around this is keep that list with you, and also put down an affirmation for yourself. I honor and respect who I am. I now move forward joyfully as my authentic self. And those affirmations will help to encourage this aspect to yourself of authenticity and that ability to build the life that you truly dream of. And so those are the things that I would suggest not apologizing for as an empath. If you need some extra help, I would love to have you in the Empath Institute or in my body language course. If you're dealing with pain and disease, certainly check out my body language course. It will help you. I have so many tools about helping you to be truthful and authentic to yourself, how to create a plan around who you truly are, and being able to create a life that is truly empowered as an empath. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.